Káàsán, Koiki Media bringing the world closer to your doorsteps. Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho is live now in the community of Igangan ní Ìbàràpá. Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho is live now in Igangan. Koiki Media bringing the world closer to your doorsteps. Today being the 7th of June 2021. Jonah. Dúró farabalẹ̀. Live. Farabalẹ̀ Matthew, jẹ́ kí Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho live. Koiki Media bringing the world closer to your doorstep. Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho live now in Igangan. Today being the 7th of June 2021. Bàbá rẹ̀ kó gba fóònù ẹ̀ dání ná. Kí n fún ẹ fóònù ẹ̀. Gba fóònù ẹ̀ kí n lè rọwọ́ mú kíní dání. Gbà. Koiki Media bringing the world closer to your doorsteps. Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho is live now in Igangan. Chief is live now in Igangan. Igangan ibi tí ó ti ṣẹlẹ̀ ní àná tí àwọn Fúlàní tí wọ́n pa àwọn èèyàn. Owó Baba Dami is live here. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹ ti gbé àwọn ọlọ́kadà, àwọn OPC gbogbo wọn ni wọ́n ti ń tẹ̀lé bàbá. Owó Baba Dami is live here. Koiki Media bringing the world closer to your doorstep. A ti sọ pé a ò ṣe ẹrú mọ́ òmìnira ara wa la fẹ́. Yorùbá nation no going back. Ṣàpọ̀nà Oòduà is live here. Owó Baba Dami. Koiki Media bringing the world closer to your doorstep. 7th of June 2021. Owó Baba Dami. Ẹ máa share broadcast yìí. Koiki Media bringing the world closer to your doorsteps. Today is the 7th of June 2021. Owó Baba Dami is live now in Igangan. A ò ṣe ẹrú mọ́ òmìnira ara wa la fẹ́. Yorùbá nation no going back. Ojú àwa gbé wà ọ̀dàlẹ̀ ní onígbé. Wọ́n lè máa pa wá kó máa pa àwọn èèyàn wa ká máa wò báyìí. Dúró. Bámi fa kíní sókè.
Mo ti mú kíní. Mo ti kọ́ mẹ́tọ̀dù wa ṣe máa fi fà á owó lòdì fẹ́ fà bẹ́ẹ̀. Àwọn máa pẹ́ o.
No. Màá jókòó normal ni. ẹ ti rí bí inú àwọn ọmọ ìlú ṣe ń dùn.
Ó máa gbéra lójijì ní sẹ́ẹ̀. báyìí wọ́n jẹ́ wọlé.
Joshua, but I'll be coming back on that. Let's come back first to you, in the studio, and then we're gonna give more background. And the news is still trending as I speak to you, not just on Twitter, but like I said, from some of the big media players in the globe talking about him. Who is TB Joshua? And we'll be discussing a little bit more about that. But more about it, let's come back to London, Star Radio UK, your finest African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Yes, listeners, Mr. Line, we're going to bring you live updates from Nigeria, the south and the southwest of Nigeria this morning. So wherever you are, we wanted to share the broadcast with your friends. And back once, we're looking at the death of TB Joshua. Okay. Okay, so what was the cause of the death? Because some were saying that he suffered a stroke and was taken to Turkey, he came back later on, and some were saying, 4 days ago he was preaching before his death, and blah blah blah. What information do you have pertaining to that?
Well, the most important thing is every death, like my grandma used to say, every death must go away with some kind of controversy, whether we like it or not. Every death also it has different meaning to different people as well. And I hope you can still hear me back, in the studio.
Loud and clear, loud and clear.
So that means, the death of TB Joshua is not, is almost the same as any other icon that dies. People want to know the precise reason, why these individuals have died. And, the most, hello?
Yes, we can still hear you. It's a bit faint, but we can hear you.
Okay,
yeah.
Yes. And the most important thing is, when people die, let's just, accept the fate that, they've been called back, by the creator that created us in the first place. His death comes just as Nigeria was mourning, death of TB Joshua of the Synagogue Church of Nation. Like I said, is more popular across the world. So people would definitely want to find out, what could have been the cause of TB Joshua. But I'm getting another news that just as we are still talking about the death of TB Joshua, the news is also coming up now that also a popular Port Harcourt pastor, Akintola, is dead. His death comes just as Nigerians were mourning Prophet TB Joshua of the Synagogue Church. The popular cleric, which we're discussing now, which I'm going to go back to TB Joshua, was the General Superintendent of the Redemption Ministry Worldwide, Reverend Stephen Akintola, is dead. His death just comes, like I said, as we were discussing, the TB Joshua. But let's go back a little bit more on who is TB Joshua himself, and what do we know about him? TB Joshua, is a man that, like him or hate him. There were a few controversy about him as well while he was alive, but the most important thing is, he played his role, as the leader of the Synagogue Church of all nations, that was very popular, not just in Nigeria, I could tell you across the world. Yes, definitely, people would like to know what has been the reason why he has died, but all I can say is death comes at the right time, whatever the nature of it, whether you are sick, whether it was an accident. So many people lost their life, not just TB Joshua. Yesterday, I'll be discussing more about that. Igboho in Ibarapa, we saw more than 50 innocent Yorubas were slaughtered. They, in the middle of the night, stroke early hours of the morning of Sunday hours. But I'll be discussing more of that. Let's go back now to you in the studio. This is still Star Radio UK, your finest African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Yes, may we say, may he so rest in perfect peace, and everyone who has lost their lives as well. But another story, apart from the latest one that have come about Pastor Stephen Akintola, there is another story of one of the death that I don't know people will be celebrating. That is the death of alleged death of Abubakar Shekau. How true is that?
Well, that has been about some few weeks back. We talked about it, but the confirmation is, this is not the first time that Abubakar Shekau have died. Few times he have died, and he has probably resurrected back again for whatever reason. Abubakar Shekau is one of the most terrorist group operated inside the country, for so many years. They've displaced a lot of people. People have been maimed, people have been killed, and then the most important thing is let us understand that these individuals, known as the leader of the Boko Haram, had a firepower exchange with another terrorist group known as ISWAP. ISWAP operates more, on the international platform, but the news broke out that there was a kind of a tussle between ISWAP and Boko Haram in Sambisa Forest, and eventually from the story, which I cannot confirm, like you said, is a story that is was popping up, that Abubakar Shekau eventually committed a kind of a suicide. But like I said, we don't have any video or any graphic evidence to that. But maybe it's going to resurface, maybe not. That doesn't mean the fraction of Boko Haram are still heavily creating havoc and manic, right across the country. And I'll be telling you more on that, on some of what took place in Ibarapa. But let's come back again to you in London, where we are reporting here from the southwest of the country.
Well, let's start Radio UK. 18 minutes past 11 the time. From Nigeria, Mr. Olaimi Koiki, I'm Archie here in the studios of Star Radio UK in London. Now, let's come to the attack that took place in Ibarapa, that you were talking about, and then we can come to the Twitter issue with Nigeria. Over to you.
Yes, as we were celebrating, one of the mega rally that you can think of. I mean, the crowd was fantastic, on Saturday when Chief Sunday Igboho, traveled with a convoy of more than 200 from his base in Ibadan to almost 2.5 hours journey to Ekiti State, where we discussed about the mega rally. I couldn't join you on Friday, in preparation for that. But like I said, the rally was massive, the turnout was beautiful, and the whole Southwest was completely locked down. The views from around the world was very, very excited. People were happy that, this is the first time in the history of the Yoruba, apart from, the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, that was so much love. You can hardly ask anybody, if he was paying money as against some of the politicians that would organize rally, and we paid in their millions to get people into the venue. People waited extremely for, patiently rather, for Chief Sunday Igboho to arrive. But as the rally was coming up to an end, they had to return back to their base. But just coming up to 11 p.m., there was so much news coming out from Ibarapa axis of Southwest of Oyo State, and the news was not very good. Some of the image, Mr. Archie, was as gruesome as some of those images that we discussed about the, the level of atrocity that took place, at Ebonyi just a week ago as well, where people were slaughtered. More than 50 innocent lives were killed at Ibarapa, and it took none of the security operatives to get there from 11 p.m. until more than 5 hours that these people were operating. But early hours in the morning, we sent our team down there, and you could see a stationed military vehicle. But the question remains is, how come they were able to operate for over 6 hours and nobody was able to turn out, even though the governor's house, from where it was, would have been less than 2 hours to move his convoy to the place where this atrocity was taking place. Most of the dead have been buried, but we have documented every individual soul that lost their life at that event that took place on Ibarapa in the southwest of the country. This is the Star Radio UK. Let's come back again to you in the studio in London.
Yeah, that is quite a very sad one. But who were the perpetrators? What exactly happened? What is the narrative? What are they telling you?
Well, from the eyewitness, not one, not two, not three, there were Fulanis, terrorists that, invaded the community while they were making their way to bed, and people were moving, and you got to remember that these are, area that has no electricity, and like I said, the king, one of the king palace, I mean, one of our royal father palace was also burnt to, to ashes. Vehicles were burnt down, shops were burnt down. Some of those images, like I said, is like a war zone, and you can only hear that, the first video that came out of it. I mean, it's very, very terrifying, and it's very gruesome, to see some of how those attacks by the Fulani on the innocent community in the southwest of Ibarapa, between Saturday Saturday late night up to the early hours of the morning of Sunday.
Let me say good morning to Kehinde Lukman. I hope you are doing very well. Thank you very much for joining us as well, and as many of you who have joined us on this broadcast. Let me say massive thank you. I know that it costs you a lot to just stay with us or watch this live videos, and we appreciate you with that effort. Okay. Now, has there been any threats in Ibarapa area? I mean, wait, this menace that is going on. Has there been any threat of a sort? So, and what is Ibarapa? What do they have there? And why do they attack that whole village? Is it because they want to run it over and take control over it?
Ibarapa has quite a lot of natural resources underneath, and that also tells you that there's something below the floor, underneath the ground, that has the reason for them wants to stay in that area. Ibarapa has been one of the most terrible area in terms of the Fulani attack. Let's take you back to one of the the resident that lives in Germany for a very long time, a PhD holder, Dr. Fatai Aboride. He was killed in that particular area, last year, and that was what also, brought out, Chief Sunday Igboho to go down there and say enough is enough, of the killings of his people. People cannot make it to the farm. People cannot, have any livelihood happening in that Ibarapa axis. Let us also say that, that particular area is the borderline as well that leads to outside, the southwest. So that means, if you remember, while we were, discussing last year that the U.S. government says that, that Okeogun axis has been invaded by the, if you remember, that, we talked about that, last year. So this is still that particular axis. Remember, we have one of the most beautiful, environment when they talk about, the natural forest. And that means these individuals have been able to live comfortably for a very long time, like somebody like the Seriki Igboho that was there for 30 years, but he was the mediator of anyone that was kidnapped until he was vacated by the Chief Sunday Igboho in January, just as Star Radio UK and myself was arriving into the country. So could it be a reprisal? No. It's something that has been going on for a very long time because of the natural resources. And what is this natural resources? In Yoruba, we call it kusa. In English, it is called the natural gold.
Wow. Listen to Star Radio UK. Updates from Nigeria. Now, let's move on to Twitter. Now, on Thursday to Friday, we had information coming through that, Nigeria has banned, the government of Nigeria has banned the operation of Twitter. And everyone who is, we had some government officials say that anyone who is found using Twitter will, fail they face the full sanctions of the law, blah, 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 that has gone on. But during your update, you didn't mention that it was the death of TV Joshua was on Twitter. So I'm like, okay, is this man living in space or actually in Nigeria and still on the Twitter? What is exactly going on? Why did the government ban it and everything? Over to you.
Well, let's first go back to the genesis of the problem. What could have been the genesis of Twitter becoming headlocked with the federal government of Nigeria? Just as, we could put it this way. And it was not just a tweet. I've got the video where the president, was pointing fingers at, the Igbo that, they probably didn't understand, what he went through, for over 30 months during the Civil War. And that means, everyone will be taught a big lesson. Maybe some of those big lessons is what is happening in the southwest of the country and the southeast, because also in Owerri yesterday, there were quite a lot of gunfight that was taking place and people were moving from, shouting and screaming. But going back to Twitter, Nigeria banned Twitter after, the company deleted the president's tweet. Could this be also the reason why now that the wife of the president has also deactivated herself from Twitter? So quite a lot of, things happening in Nigeria. But the question you got to ask yourself is, what could have been, the communication, the information minister, Alhaji Lai Mohammed coming out after, a brief meeting, to release a statement on Twitter that Twitter has been banned. I mean, it's quite, the information minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria banned Twitter and using Twitter to announce it as well. That has not gone well with so many Nigerians inside the country, because this is their only freedom of right to express their feelings, and we saw the effect of Twitter. But the government is pointing finger that Twitter is becoming suspicious because they believe that Twitter was also behind the funding of the NSAS. But do you also know now that the pathologist during the cross-examination has now confirmed that 99 bodies was deposited at their mortuary that came out from the Lekki Tollgate massacre. You can now see all this coming out, playing out. Could Nigeria be going into a state of anarchy, where the government is now also using that opportunity to lock down the freedom of expression. The reaction has come from around the globe, but like I said, just this next day, the wife of the president also announced that she'll be deactivating herself out of Twitter, and she has already done so. Twitter for me is still working, but a lot of people are downloading these, some other device to be able to use Twitter. But that didn't end there until the Attorney General of the Federation also came out and now said anyone found using Twitter will have to be prosecuted. Quite an interesting time to be alive in a country like Nigeria, and you can now see more reason why people are saying maybe enough is enough. Let us just disintegrate out of the country so that we can have peace of mind. This is still Star Radio UK, your finest African Caribbean radio station in London, and it's called The Morning Show with myself, Archie and Frank, and I go back to London in the studio.
Yes, listeners are interested. Updates from Nigeria with Mr. Live because we know we have got about another 5 minutes to go, so I'll go back to you. And then the other story that has made the rounds over the weekend, you can bring that our way as well. Over to you, sir.
Let's first remind us as well, because when situation happen, people go back to what history says. I've just picked up a tweet. In 1984, the current president was then, through a coup, becoming the military dictator in 1984, passed a decree number 4, the Protection Against False Accusation, decree considered by scholars as the most repressive press law ever enacted in Nigeria. There's a reason why history shouldn't be taken seriously. So I'm sure a lot of people, will be asking, could it be the same way that he was operating as a military dictator? Are we back to civilian rule, or is the government still operating as a military dictator? That is for those watching and listening to decide as well. Let's go back to some of the other headlines as well. Imo governor never promised my father 10 billion, saying my dad helped Uzodinma in the APC primary. Nonsensical Mustafa Ahmed, Godluck's son. Remember Godluck, who was, one of the, the member of the APC, was gunned down in Imo State, 2 weeks ago now, on his way back to Abuja. But the headline says, the son is now saying that the father never, said he was going to. I mean, the Imo government is now saying that they never promised the father of the son is making an accusation, but the Imo State is debunking that. But like in politics in Nigeria, so many people promise different things, and so many things never come true as well. Twitter ban anyone arrest. We end up being celebrated. That is the former governor of Ekiti State, Ayo Fayose, saying that as well. Also, some of the other headline as well. Our enemies are criminals, corrupt people, not Twitter. Lagos preacher Godman Akinlabi. So it seems a lot of condemnation is coming from the international community. American is also talking about it. I saw the Sweden releasing a press statement, and quite a lot of different diplomats currently in Nigeria. Also, is there any kind of loss of income in what we're expecting, for the Twitter lockdown? I was looking at the statistics, and we're looking about almost about 2 billion naira from what I was told, will be some kind of, income that will be lost during the time that Twitter will not be operating functionally. And that effect has taken up, as this next day that the government announced that as well. This is still Star Radio UK, your finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. Bayelsa government raised the alarm over arms glorification. That is also coming from the headline as well. A notorious cult leader arrested over river pharmacist dead, according to the headline as well. Cop dead as bandit killed 41 farmer in a fresh attack in Zamfara. Again, 41 people have been killed plus a cop, in Zamfara state under a new fresh attack. Also, like I said, we talked about the vehicles that was raised and the suspect killer herdsmen that are Fulani attacked Igboho, which we already discussed. Quite a lot of carnage there as well. Lagos pays 32 billion to 7,998 pensioners in the last 2 years. 2 people have been nabbed as gang attack Lagos school during common entrance exam. We see quite a lot of that, during the exam as well. Don't only immortalize Abiola, emulate him. Who is Chief MKO Abiola? Chief MKO Abiola is one of those that fought and died, after the, the June 12, 1993 presidential election that was eventually annulled, by the, the former, dictator, during the Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. But according to the headline that I'm going to be reading a little bit, then I'll come back straight to you in the studio. It is still Star Radio UK 1132. A supporter of the late Chief MKO Abiola, Chief Abimbola Aboderi, has urged politicians to not only immortalize the late businessman and politician, but also emulate him as well. He said this in a statement on Sunday to herald the presentation of his book, Democracy and the Untold Story of June 12. Bill to hold on June 12, which is going to be this weekend. This weekend is going to be a very big, massive rally across the world, not just for the celebration of June 12, but also for the democracy, for also those that are asking for the total disintegration out of Nigeria, and a lot of other activities that are also going to be taken up as well. Aboride said, I wrote this book, which took my effort, time, and intellect from the point of my closeness to the late billionaire, humanist, and the lover of his people. I can say categorically that we are 4 people who knew Abiola politically from a very close relation. It was from that standpoint that I wrote this as well. Once again, this is Star Radio UK, your finest African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Well, listeners, Mr. Olayomi Koiki for you this morning. Yummy. I know that our time is up.
No,
You need to
fine.
go. But
I still have about 10 minutes. That's fine. We can still go ahead.
Oh, okay. Good. Okay, so let's crack on a bit. I've got Frank who has also joined in. I know he likes also tweeting. I don't know how fast he tweets, though. Frank, good morning.
Archie, good morning, and good morning to Olayomi. How are you, Olayomi?
Very good. Good morning, Frank.
Okay.
Great. Just a quick one on the. We're looking at 2 things: the TB Joshua and Twitter. Now, TB Joshua, how did he take this? His death. It's untimely, but God knows what everybody. So,
Yesterday it was on the news, and it's sad. The demise of every human being is something that we all will have to mourn. People might disagree. I've been reading a lot of stuff about him.
Yeah.
People who think that he didn't serve his purpose on earth. People who think that he did more harm than good. Others who think that he did more. At the end of the day, judgment is the Lord.
Yeah.
He is a man who had a huge following. Commands so much, respect. And so at the end of the day, you cannot discount the thousands and millions of people of his followers.
Yeah.
As to whether he did it right, he did it wrong, the judgment is not reserved for us. But we say mourn with those who mourn and celebrate with those who celebrate.
Yeah.
So we mourn with the people of Nigeria. They've lost a son. Africa has lost a son. He's one of the most influential pastors on the continent of Africa.
Yeah.
I recall very much how the former president of Ghana, the late Atamus, was close with him. When he asked him fly to attend services with him.
Oh, I see.
So he was his basically a personal, very close pastor.
Oh, okay.
A very close pastor. So may his soul rest in peace. That's all we can say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
Let's go to Twitter. Yeah.
Actually, it's very interesting. Today is the 7th of
June. Yeah.
What Nigeria has done, what the government of Nigeria has done, is once again a demonstration of how bad leadership Africa has been given. I say this because if when you are an investor, if you are someone who is just observing, looking at the country to go and invest, Nigeria will be the last you want to consider. Why do I say this? Because they just demonstrated that when you have an issue with government, they come after your soul, your intestines, and your spirit. They come after you. Again, it demonstrates that the country has not embraced democracy. What we have is a dictator clothed in a democratic apparel.
Yeah.
That is what we do have. Actually, on the 5th of on the 5th of June 2020, Donald Trump had a problem with Twitter.
Yeah.
some of his tweets were deleted.
Yeah.
That's a year ago.
Yeah.
Forwarded to December 2020. He was banned. He was still a president.
Yeah.
We never saw the US government
That they are
banning and asking the citizens of the United States of America to stop using Twitter. Here we are, a year on exactly. We do have a dictator in the form of Buhari, thinking that he can control and dictate everyone. Look, if I'm NTA and people are using social media, and by so doing, increasing the data usage,
Yeah.
increasing my profitability, and increasing the tax I pay to the states, because I pay based on the profit I make.
Yeah.
Now, Buhari is telling us that by a stroke of a pen, reduce the tax you pay to me,
Yeah.
reduce your contribution to development.
Yeah.
Every Nigerian who might have been making bread and butter through using social media, and if Twitter is how you get your following, because some people use Twitter for business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You are telling us that by stroke of a pen, all those businesses must come to a stop. I mean, are they thinking? Just because the president is sight, and or they think it's a company set up in Katsina district or Katsina or somewhere. Actually, I mean, it is. I don't know what goes through people's mind. How they think power. They say power moves. Worry. The next 5 years, how many days? Almost 1 year, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
At most, he has 1,500 days to be a president.
Power is fluid. It's just
Power is fluid. Power is fluid. Actually, should Buhari leave, and I'm going to send this to Nigeria. Please, note this down. Buhari and his ministers are guilty of causing financial loss to Nigerians and the state, and should be prosecuted. Actually, if you buy a stroke of a pen, right?
Yeah.
Dictate in a democratic means
Yeah.
to affect my business, to affect the country,
yeah.
you causing financial loss for which
Yeah.
you are guilty.
Yeah.
Are you getting me? When they leave office, bring them back because crime has not
expired. Hasn't expired. Let's go to Yomi, you seem to be getting lost on the camera. Now I can see you. Now, interestingly, Frank has made a statement. That is quite, because we know people who are using Twitter to do their businesses. Okay? Now, those people, what have been their reactions? Some of them, I think some people come out to say, look, this has impacted us. And are they appealing to government to say that, look, no, we need to have a real look or a rethink about it?
Well, I was giving you, just like Frank was saying, a lot of our people use, Twitter, to run their own business. Bear with us again. It's part of the globe where, emergency happen, and NEPA have just, done justice the way they do. So in case the lighting might a little bit be reduced. But let's continue with the conversation. Twitter is quite used, by, most people around the globe, just like, those in the country as well. And the ban of Twitter means that, some of those business losses will be having a big impact as well. I mean, the question then is, who will take the bond of these, this situation now that Twitter has, become, one of the most used that have been banned in the country. From the breakdown that I saw, we are looking at about 2 billion naira, lost. But again, this is a country where there is no backup. So that means, some of those businesses might have to go down the drain, just like the farmers that the herders, that are using their firepower, to destroy some of the farms across the middle belt. We saw that in Benue, we saw that in the southeast, and we saw majority of that in the southwest as well. And these are some of the reasons why, people are complaining bitterly on the current situation as well. So yes, it's not just Twitter that people are losing money on. People are losing money on their farms because the cow eat up the whole crop and no one is paying back any kind of compensation as well. This is Star Radio UK.
You see, actually, I think, permit me to use this, I think Buhari is becoming a terrorist. Seriously. Because actually, look at it this way. And look, if Nigerians want a change, the Twitter ban should be used as a catalyst to demand that change. Now, if Nigeria can take a break from networks, say, look, until if the media, if the networks implement this ban, they should stop using the phone for 24 hours. The Nigerians should go on strike to push those companies to say no to government.
Okay.
Are you getting me? They could. There should be a movement that should start right now for all Nigerians to stop using. Look, blackout. We are turning our phones off for the next 24 hours. The networks will go down. Citizens must act. If citizens do not act, dictators will have a field day. And that is what Buhari is doing. They should go on strike nationwide. Yes, it will be difficult, but certain sacrifices needs to be made, and it has to be now. Okay? They should go on strike. Stop using mobile. Everybody, look, no mobile network. There should be probably Friday. Everybody turn off your mobile network for 24 hours. Let the companies who think that they were given license by Buhari and not Nigeria obey that. Because to ban, you have to go to parliament. Did you go to parliament?
No.
I mean, you cannot do so. If that is the case, the businesses must know the whole allegiance not to Buhari and his kitchen cabinet. The whole allegiance to the constitution of Nigeria, the business environment, the licenses that were given, because they went through procedures to give them license, and the whole allegiance first and foremost to the people of Nigeria, not to Buhari. So if anything at all, we must strike now. And actually, you have to call me a prophet. Yesterday something happened. The NSAS movement and the Ghana Fix the Country movement signed a pact.
Wow.
They signed a pact to be able to ensure that they put pressure on governments. And I tell you why more countries are coming. Last week we had a program. The Southern Africa is joining here. I told you there's going to be a movement that will transcend the borders to shake the countries. They have started.
Look out. Okay, like Frank said, success as a product is exciting, but the process is painful. So if Nigerians will say, we will...
I know we've run out quite a much of time on this, but it's very, very important because this, when we talk about, one of the most populous, black nation is Nigeria, and whatever happened in Nigeria has a ripple effect across, the Southwest, and the other part of the continent as well. But I'm going back to this particular headline here that is coming from The Wire, and it says Nigerian Twitter ban could backfire, hurting the economy and the democracy. So I'm just going to quickly look at some of the statistics that we've got here in terms of the usage of the Twitter in Nigeria. According to the 2020 survey by the independent African-based research organization, Afrobarometer found out that 35% of Nigerians reported using some social media services to get news at least a few times a week. Men were marginally more likely to use it than women, 39% versus 31%. More young people use it, 46% between the age of 18 and 25 years old versus 8% for those between the 65, like the government of Buhari and some of his ministers as well. Also, the rate of weekly access were higher for Nigerians who live in the urban areas, 54% versus 18% for the rural area. At least a secondary or level education is about 57% versus 12% with a primary education or lower. And at the lowest level of life poverty, 51% versus 25% for those with the highest. Nevertheless, Nigerians were more broadly unlikely to take the ban quietly. Afrobarometer research also shows that Nigerians, like most Africans, oppose government restriction on media. Generally, those surveyed were roundly opposed to restriction on digital media. More than 3/5, 61% say that internet and social media should be unrestricted versus only 23%. So you could see that this is not just going to be in Nigeria alone. It's going to create more pressure, not just across the world, but mostly with the Nigerian government that might be the loser out of this as well.
Well, who loses out? Let me say, Amayo Jirogene. Yes. He said 10 of. He said, okay, he started the
Hashtag turn off our mobile. That is 24. That is it. Actually, they should fix a date. Yeah. Let the Nigerians, the youth especially, they should get a bit of celebrities involved in it. Yeah. They should go hashtag turn off. They should go black 24 hours. And we see how much they see what will happen. You see what will happen in Ghana. They should boycott it. Yeah. Why we cannot run? You see, our leaders think once you are elected, they give you a borrowed power. You basically have all the citizens in a can that you can shake. Yeah. At any time you take them take them outside as if it's your personal roller coaster. Yeah. You take us out of pocket, drop us, take us out of pocket. No, it shouldn't be happening. Actually, if we do that, we'll be failing the future generation. Yeah. I'm saying, if the youth today keep on complaining with no hands, this should continue. This should spark a revolution in Nigeria. And it should start with what you call social media. A ban on social media, we boycott it. And that's it. Yeah. Hashtag turn off our mobile phone. That's 24. Well, that's it. They'll put things together and get in touch with Star Radio UK. Because we're going to champion that cause. Because we are broadcasting live on Twitter. So if you're in Nigeria, you turn your Twitter on, you can see us. No, but actually, I mean, I'm just giving you two classic examples. Yeah. Now, look at what happened in the US. The whole US president. The whole US president. Not that he was out of office. No. He was still in office. His tweets were deleted. Not once, not twice. Facebook took down his tweets. His posts. YouTube banned some of his videos. Right? He was still in office. The administration never said Twitter stop operating. Because it's an African country, you think you can, it's Buhari's country. Boss, no. I think they should be even more than NSAS. We should end Buhari now. Okay, wow, that's a big one. Okay, listeners, we're going to allow him to give your closing remarks before we take a break. Over to you.
Going to be ending Buhari, then that means you have to join so many of the protests that is planned ahead, in the next couple of days. I'm sure the world is going to be listening loud and clear because quite a lot of things going to be happening. So I'm going to be closing it from here, saying that, so much, incident happening in Nigeria, but Star Radio UK will continue, to monitor and especially, to address it to the international community. So just like you said, June 12th is a planned protest. I've got one here saying, join the June 12th nationwide protest. And there's so many things underneath as well. But like I said, we will continue to monitor the situation. London is also going to be holding a peaceful rally June 12th at Trafalgar Square. 3 days rally has been planned. Total shutdown Washington, D.C. from the 10th, 11th, and the 12th, right at the George Floyd, ground where he was killed in Washington, D.C., where they're going to be holding that rally as well. So quite a lot of tension currently. But Star Radio UK is still here. Don't touch the dial. Remember, you're sending money home. Make use of Star Radio UK code and use SendWave as well. From here in the southwest of the country, my name is Olayemi Koiki, the international correspondent for Star Radio UK, and I'll be back again same time tomorrow. Don't go anywhere yet, because Archie and Frank is still going to take you through the rest of the program.
Thank you very much, Yomi. Have a blessed day, and we'll catch up with you later. But let's take this song whilst Yomi is going, and that is what Raskimano and
of the country. My name is Olayemi Koiki, the international correspondent for Star Radio UK, and I'll be back again same time tomorrow. Don't go anywhere yet, because Archie and Frank is going to take you through the rest of the program.
thank you very much, Yomi. Have a blessed day.
I'm going to go now in a bit, few minutes, but I can quickly tell us the situation in Igboho is still very tense. From the report that I'm getting, the situation very, very tense. But we have more update that will be coming later. I don't want to give too much information right now, but the situation is extremely tense at Igboho. Allow also Sibe overnight Lano, and I'm getting report from there that the Fulani are still currently holding another kind of an attack. Mama, update. I have to go now because there's a lot of work that we have to do behind the scene. My name is Olayemi Koiki. Thank you very much. Have a very good morning from wherever you've joined me this morning. Moki Bugbo Yo, Oduagbewa Konigbe Odale. Bye for now.